There are 17 boards in Washington that review complaints against doctors, nurses, dentists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. Our audit looked at two of them, the boards that cover medical doctors and osteopathic doctors. The medical board, which we call MQAC, is one of the biggest of these 17 boards. The other board we looked at, BOMS, is one of the smallest, but we looked at it because osteopathic doctors and medical doctors do a lot of the same work.
One thing we did not look at in this audit is whether or not a doctor that may have been complained about was actually guilty of a violation. That was really outside of the scope of what it is we were looking at. What we did look at is the process of the complaints that come into the two boards.
Here's how these boards work. They only investigate doctors when complaints come in. When a complaint comes in, a small committee of the boards is used to determine whether to investigate each complaint.
Well, what we did is we examined how well these two boards are protecting the public, and what we found over the course of the audit is that they seem to be doing a pretty good job of protecting the public. The system does seem to be working pretty well. However, we did find some ways that both boards could improve. And the biggest recommendation that we have coming out of this audit is that the two boards merge into a single board that serve both the osteopathic and the medical profession.
On a handful of occasions, we found that BOMS did not investigate a complaint that MQAC would have. Were these legitimate complaints that would have resulted in discipline? We don't know. But neither does BOMS because they didn't investigate.
Another thing that we looked at in this audit is whether or not the boards are meeting their deadline to process a complaint, that is, at least to get the complaint to the point where they've made a decision as to whether or not to investigate. And what we found is that MQAC is meeting that deadline almost all of the time. The deadline is about 21 days. BOMS, on the other hand, is missing that deadline in about 25% of the cases. Now, we do think that this is almost purely a function of the size of BOMS. BOMS is quite a lot smaller than MQAC. They are only able to meet once every couple of weeks. So you have a 3-week window to process a complaint or to make a decision about whether or not to investigate a complaint, and then you're only meeting every 2 weeks.
Here's one thing we think does matter. MQAC has 6 public members, people who are not doctors or physician assistants. And on most of these committees, there are 2 of them, along with 2 doctors, deciding whether to open a case. BOMS only has 1 public member, and so only about half of the committees that decide whether to investigate a case have this member present. This is why we think these 2 boards should merge, which really means adding 3 seats to MQAC for osteopathic members. Other things we looked at include investigations and compliance. We think the investigators are doing a pretty good job. We think the compliance officers are doing a pretty good job.
As part of a practitioner's sanctions, if they were sanctioned, might be unannounced practice reviews by investigators, in which case an investigator would show up unannounced and process that review. What happened in the past was that some of these unannounced visits were in fact announced. So the investigator might actually schedule the unannounced visit with the practitioner. That causes obvious problems right there. However, management at MQAC did realize in 2014 that this was going on. They put a stop to that practice. MQAC and BOMS can require doctors, and we recommend that they do require doctors, to post information about how to post a complaint. And they can do this either through, say, posters or other literature that they put up in facilities, or put it in patient packets.
We did find that their website needs improvement. It's possible to file a complaint in Spanish, but only after you click through several pages of English text. When you do file a complaint, you need to fill out a form and then print it out or save it. You should be able to just click a button on the website and submit it. Mostly we're fine with the system. It's staffed by good people who take their job seriously. It could just be a little bit better.